The L-22 Alpha Wolf versus the L-21 Wolf. Which ship should you get? Both of them are very similar. In this video I'll break down every stat of each ship and we will discuss if you should go ballistic weapons or with the energy weapons. Both the L-22 and the L-21 have the same dimensions, so the ship has the same size. The same goes for the mass. Each ship has the same mass, but where these two ships differ is with the vital part HP. So vital part HP is the part that you destroy and your ship will be disabled or soft death. The L-21 Wolf has 50 more HP, so it's not by a lot. So basically the same, we can say. If we go and look at the shield HPs of these ships, is basically the same HP if you switch out the shield. Now we're going to talk about the pilot DPS. You'll see that the L-21 Wolf has more DPS, but this is a bit misleading. Since ballistics or physical ammo in the game, like the ballistics on the L-21 Wolf, does reduce damage when shields are down. Basically, the ballistics on the L-21 Wolf will do 38% less damage when the shields are down, but the ballistics will also penetrate the shield when there's a shield on. So there's a few advantages to having ballistics. You can penetrate through shields, so it's probably better to have ballistics when targeting bigger ships with shields you can't strip with just a normal light fighter. But in general, I would say that the energy repeaters on the L-22 will be better. Even though the DPS might seem lower, in the long run you will not have to restock ammo. I would say, even though it looks like the DPS on the L-21 Wolf looks more, the L-22 Wolf is actually the victor here. Since as I said, the ballistics will do less damage to the hull of ships if the shields are down. Even though the ballistics will penetrate the shields, it will also take the reduced damage to the hull. So it's a double whammy. The shield will reduce the ballistic damage, and the hull armor or the fake armor currently in the game will also reduce the ballistics. So I would say just go with the L-22 Wolf. If you're targeting smaller ships with shields you can actually shoot down. If you're able to shoot down the shields of ships, go with the L-22 Wolf. If you're not able to shoot down the ship's shields, go with the L-21. I know that's a big thing to discuss or to explain, but basically the point stands that if you can't strip the shields of a ship, go with the L-21. If you can strip the shields of the ship, go with the L-22. The burst damage, you can see that the L-21 has more burst damage, but the same thing for the burst damage applies as the normal DPS. The hull will take less damage from the ballistics, and even though it penetrates the shield, the hull will still reduce the damage of the ballistics. So actually the L-22 Wolf will do more damage, even though it doesn't seem like that on paper. Just because ballistics do less damage to hulls and all of the damage reduction or fake armor in the game currently. If we look at the missile damage, the L-22 Wolf is also pulling ahead since it does more missile damage. The L-21 Wolf only has small missiles and the L-22 Wolf has a bit of a bigger missile. So this is why it does more missile damage. We can also look at the SEM speed. Here is where the L-21 Wolf pulls ahead. It has 5 more SEM speed, which is not a lot, so we can probably say it's the same more or less. The nav speed of these two ships are precisely the same. So where these ships actually differ is the pitch rate, yaw and roll. You can see that the L-22 Wolf is a more maneuverable ship by just a little bit, but you will actually notice it in game. This is probably one of the most important stats for the ship. It's the pitch, yaw and roll rate. So here the L-22 Wolf is taking the crown. With the IR and EM signatures, the L-21 Wolf is going to take the crown here. Of course it will, because it's ballistic. It has less energy emissions, so it will be a bit more stealthy, but not by a lot. Now let's look at the designs of the ship. You can see that the L-22 Wolf is a bit more dark in color, and the L-21 Wolf is a more silvery reflective type of color. The ships also differ in the tail, so if you want to differentiate from these two ships, you should look at their tails. You'll see that the L-22 Wolf has this little upwards flap on the tail, and while the L-21 Wolf has this downward flap on the tail. This is where you can differentiate which type of ship you're fighting or which type of ship you're flying. It's very small changes, but there is just a small difference. And of course, the obvious changes are that the L-21 Wolf has ballistic weapons and the L-22 Wolf has energy repeaters. That's the main big differences of these ships. Basically, both of these ships are very similar. It's either you're going to want ballistics or either you're going to want energy repeaters. And of course, the L-22 Wolf also has bigger missiles and more maneuverability. So it's really up to you which ship you will get. Both are very similar. I would say that if you didn't know anything about the game, you will probably not know which ship to get. But in my opinion, you should go with the L-22 Wolf. So the L-22 Wolf is going to be the better ship of the two, just because ballistics isn't as great as it could be yet, but maybe in the future ballistics will be superior. Both of these two ships are awesome ships. I did the comparison of the L-21 Wolf versus the Arrow and the Gladius, and basically the L-21 Wolf destroyed the Arrow and the Gladius. So I can imagine that the L-22 Wolf will do the same, just because it's such an awesome ship and such a nice design. But as I said earlier, I do believe that the L-21 Wolf has a place in the meta. For if you want to destroy bigger ships, you're probably going to want to go with the L-21 Wolf. If it's a smaller ship, go with the L-22. But I really do think that both of these ships can take on a hammerhead, even though it might seem like the L-21 Wolf can run out of ammo. I have taken out a hammerhead with the L-21 Wolf before. I still need to test with the L-22, but I do believe it will be very easy to do that. So conclusion, which ship will you buy and for what reason? Let me know in the comments. For me, I will be picking up the L-22 Alpha Wolf just because it does seem like it's going to be a very good light fighter and I want to test it. I think it's going to be the new meta of light fighters and it will dominate in all scenarios, even PvP, even PvE. Now that you know which ship to get, go and watch this video to see how the L-21 Wolf compares towards the main meta light fighters, which is the Anvil Arrow and the Gladius.